welcome to a quick little tutorial on Google Docs. Prior to COVID-19, this is how you would see me use Google Docs on the daily in my classroom. So what I've done here is I've taken a screenshot of a Google Docs and I'm using an app called AirSketch. And what you can see right here is a link or a web address where students can actually type that into their personal computer or their device or their iPad, and they can follow right along with me. So here on AirSketch, as a classroom, I could instruct and we could go through questions. I can actually demonstrate custom strategies to circle, underline, skim, scan, and then eliminate incorrect answers and jot down notes. So I can just really quickly with this use my iPad and Apple Pencil and say, all right, let's discuss this. All living things begin, all living, we gotta focus on that, begin with which structure? And so in this case, we could eliminate chlorophyll for photosynthesis, kind of talk through, well, an organ is made up of tissue, which is made up of cells, so we can eliminate that. Our nucleus goes along with an atom, and that way we would know our correct answer here would be cell. This is just one quick way that we would use Google Docs. The students could have an actual paper with that information, or they could follow along with their device. So this is just prior to COVID-19, one of the best practices with a Google Doc. Please keep watching as I teach you a little bit more about some of the best practices that I found using Google Docs. Google Docs is a best practice for me. It ties every single thing that I do with instruction, parent and student communication all together. Here is an example of Google Docs and how I use them every single week in classroom instruction, specifically in online instruction during COVID-19. Here is the title for this week's lesson, which was Wind, Local, Global, and Jet Streams. This was specifically for 6th grade, and I gave the date. Below were expectations, and this was specific standards that we would be covering for the week. Below that were 10 things that the students were expected. These were the expectations. Every single one of these has a link attached, and so I love Google Docs because you can hyperlink, and so here you have this actual paper that's linked to it. And next would be the Google Forms, which will be in another segment, but the Google Forms, the review questions that students were expected to already know. So these were basically a prescripted area of weakness, so the students knew that this was going to be how it was going to be graded, and the students right here on those 1 through 10 expectations had this up front. Now it was also assigned into their Google Classrooms, but I'll just click really quickly on one. So up front, this was seen as a checklist. So here are the review questions for that week. So they would have review 1 and review 2. So they had basically a review. This was their review. Now, below that were their specific materials, an article, what they would read through, and then all videos. I'm sure you'd be excited because that would be a YouTube video of me in instruction. And so here were their Google Slides. Google Slides will also be in another segment for Google Apps, but here would be an example of Google Slides, which for me, for instruction, this is an all-in-one self-help. I love Google Slides because it's everything instruction for the students. And again, from this paper, well, this is a paper, but it's also digital. From this Google Docs, a student could click right here and see exactly what the instruction was, where it's hyperlinked. Next would be an exit ticket. Now this would be from the reading. For me, it's just a quick look to see, did that student have an understanding of that reading? But again, it's attached here as a quick checklist. And then again, face-to-face, the best we could would be our Google Meet. And then a Quizlet for them to be able to practice the vocabulary words. And we can look in that when we're looking at Google Slides, a great way to give your students a day-to-day practice with that vocabulary, so you're just reinforcing. But again, that is attached on Google Docs. It's also attached through Google Slides. Below that, with an expectation, is a project, and science is very hands-on. And so again, with that project, it's attached to Google Slides. Here they can see specifically what is expected, again with the video, yours truly, telling them word for word what they need. I believe communication is key. It is a best practice of mine. We always, throughout the week, play a GIM kit, which again is a review of vocabulary, and we can talk more about that. A final assessment just to see how they did on that review. I always believe you've got to go back to those concepts, never walk away from them. So here it is attached on this Google Doc, and then a final assessment for the week kind of captured right here. On this Google Doc, which all parents get digitally, again, are just main things to know. Now, again, this is for me to show that parents, also students, main points, things that have got to be reinforced here. And then, of course, vocabulary, which goes along with their articles, which goes along with any video that I'm sharing with them. In the reading and everything that they'll be assessed on, specifically their projects that they were to do. And Google is your home to all things here. I go to the Google apps. I always go through Gmail because I know that I am attached to myself here. So I go through my Gmail. This is specifically my .net, where I communicate with my students. And so in my Google Drive, here's my 9 squares, or I call my Google apps. I will go, you can from here go to Google Sheets, Google Slides, Google Docs. Your Google Classroom is here. You could join a Google Meet here. If you slide down, here's where your YouTube is. Most definitely you can hang out. Your Jamboard is here. You can slide down, there's Google Classroom again. But what I want to specifically show you, and where I utilize the most, is I will go to Google Drive. From Google Drive, I always like to start a new creation here. So I would click the plus sign, go new, and what I want to create new, is a Google Doc, just to show you some of the different ways. So from Google Doc, what I would do here is give it a name, and just a couple things. If you're familiar with other types of document creators, then you're going to be just fine. There's just a couple things that are different. So you can center it just as normal, change your font sizes just as normal, and your fonts. I've added some fonts, and I can show you. If you click more fonts, you can most definitely add more fonts to your fonts. I love fonts. From here you can search more fonts, add more fonts. Let's just say that as you're going through them, you like a couple, you just add them as you go. If you need more fonts, they're forever adding more. So we'll just make that really quickly. I don't want to take up too much of your time. So here we go. We've added a couple more fonts here. You want to change out your font. We'll call it again Google Docs Best Practices. So a couple things again, which I told you, first and foremost, communication. And what I want to go ahead and do is that local and global wins form Google Doc that I was showing you earlier. I want to go ahead and attach that here, and so, or link it for you here. So what I'm going to do is click back onto this link, and I want to share it with you. So I'm going to click share. I'm going to get this link for you, but I don't want you to be able to edit everything that I'm doing. I just want you to be able to view it. And so I have changed the abilities for you. And so what I'm going to do here is where I'm going to copy the link, I'm going to make sure that I've changed it, and it says anyone with the link can view. So I'm going to give you that right. So anyone with the link can view. Here I could change it, could comment, could view, could edit, but all I want you to be able to do is view it. So I'll click done. And what I'm doing, since that is highlighted, I can go ahead and just insert the link. I'm going to click Command V. So now it is there. I'm going to apply it, and now that is hyperlinked for you. The second way that I love using Google Docs is for student collaboration, or I could just say student projects and collaboration. So some examples of student projects and collaboration through Google Docs is just giving them the opportunity to answer questions. What I want to show you in Google Classroom really quickly are some of their work together through Google Docs. So here I created the questions in a Google Doc, and then you can see her answers. So that's one way quickly that you can see student work through Google Docs. 3D model, but they were also given a Google document to fill in with the 3D model and how each part of the sun was represented in their 3D model. So we'll see if we can take a look at the different examples. So here was the key that was made. So I made this for each student. The descriptions, they have given me the actual description of what the photosphere is, and then they've shown me how they've represented it on their model. But again, as it's all digital, I just really love the fact that each and every student can work individually. And here you can see his 3D model he chose to do digitally. Is that everything that you can do on your Google Docs, your students can also do. And so a powerful tool here is collaboration. For example, I gave my students a project on weathering, erosion, and deposition, and my students were given the task to write a story about the life of a rock. And so I wrote out this Google Doc for them with directions about exactly what was expected step by step. And what was just incredible was I was able to make a video of some examples that the students needed to do and how to bring that to life. And they were able to use iMovie, Google Slides, or Book Creator, write a song, anything that was approved by me. But what was very cool is they had to give kind of a rough draft where they showed that they were working together collaboratively with their group. And here are some examples of Google Docs and how just with the power of this share button, students could work collaboratively. And here you can see two students, and they've even shown the beginning, middle, and end of their story of their rock being weathered and then eroded and finally being deposited and becoming a new type of landform. But this was all written and typed in Google Docs, and they were able to share that with me and turn it in before they made their book in Book Creator. So just a powerful tool for collaboration. And remind yourself, anything that you can use within your team to collaborate, your students most definitely can use the power of the tool of Google Docs to do the same.